Welcome to JAH Talk Show and Assalamu Alaikum from Amir Yusufi or Jawad Shah. You can watch our live show on Facebook page and YouTube channel SOT.JAH. We always welcome your suggestions and comments for improve our contents. And you have seen different program now on our channel as platform which we have already promised with you. I just wanted to remind about our purpose of this platform, inspiration, collaboration, discuss the undiscussed, and expression of a common opinion. Okay, just want to remind you. Hi Jawad, how are you, my dear friend?
I am very good. Amir, you look stunning, mashallah. And as you said, we are here to collaborate. One more thing,
Yeah.
we are here to bring something and content which is normally not available. We
Yeah.
always try to cover the areas and scopes which is either paid in normal circumstances or is not available generally. We try to bring the speakers which are very professional in there and on top of their games. Amir, we spoke about leadership. We spoke about the team management. We spoke about relationship management. We spoke about a lot of public oriented stuff. Somehow we wish to discuss more about ourselves now.
Yeah.
You see, remember we also had the session in discovering oneself with Arthi Moore,
Hmm.
discovering someone's potential. So we are building on that today. What is your agenda?
Okay, I'm very careful today as we have personality profiling expert. He will be in a studio in short while. Yes, his name is Jan Robberts. He's a personality profiling expert. I can take seriously, I can talk 10 minutes about his introduction, Jawad, but let me try for brief introduction.
Sure.
Internationally certified DISC behavior analysis consultant and trainer, co-founder of Key Leadership Institute, founder of JR's Speaker Club, certified coach, trainer, speaker with the John Maxwell, our favorite trainer and book writer, executive director and president advisory council member in the John Maxwell Team, international keynote speaker, leadership mentor on the global platform, ME Career Classroom online teaching program USA, leadership and personal development coach on Change Your World online platform Scotland. He is also co-author of the best-selling book Living Without Limits, 30 mentors to rock your world. He is facilitator in transformational team building, diversity inclusion trainings, leadership training, presentation skill training, and youth development, which I am. Okay, so over 30-year experience as a supervisor and project manager of international team in the oil industry in Scotland, Brazil, Poland, Switzerland, Norway, Netherlands, Denmark, England, Germany, Austria. I think it's not finished yet, but let's welcome him in the studio. Warm welcome to Jan Robert. Hi, sir.
Well, salam, Jawad and Amir. It is an
Waalaikumsalam.
absolute privilege and pleasure to be invited on your show. And, I look forward to an amazing discussion with both of you. I followed you before, and I love the way you work and discuss things with each other. So I look forward to getting challenged today because, as
Yeah.
you said before, that's how we grow. And just a privilege to be here. And I mean, my introduction was far too long, and I'm supposed to live up to that.
Oh no, we had just we had just cut down. We have missed a lot, and sorry for that.
Oh,
But
no,
we
thank
have
you.
privilege. Seriously, when I am reading your profile and I'm following you on your Facebook page and your other pages, it's marvelous. Thank you very much. You have done a lot of work, and thank you for giving us time on our show. Yes, Jawad. Please.
And thank you very much for sparing time. I'm sure that you will add value to us and to the viewers. And first of all, please tell me, how do you do so much in your life? You are an author, you are a trainer, you are a keynote speaker, you are a manager, you have been consulting companies, you have been advising companies. How do you do that much in your life?
A wonderful question. being excited about life is the simple answer. I think, there is a lot of us who go through life rather than grow through life, and actually do so. They don't want to get up in the morning. Monday morning comes, and the only thing they look forward to is a Friday afternoon so they can finish again. And I have always had a different outlook on life. I'm excited about life. I think life is full of possibilities and opportunities, especially and even more so at this precise moment when many people think everything goes wrong. I think, what can we do to improve it? How can we grow through this? And every time when you open up your mind and you look for things, you find things to do. And I think if you're like me, if you're excited about life and excited about everything that can be done to help and inspire others and to grow other people, then it's not so difficult. I mean, I don't even think about time. Time goes. We've all got 24 hours a day. It's if you're excited about and you know your why and your purpose, and you find out your direction in life, life becomes so much easier. Life becomes so much more wonderful. And at the end of the day, I don't want to look back. And I've done this. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to look back any longer and say, oh, I wish I had done. I want to do it, and I just want to make sure that my life matters. And that's we're also heavily involved in entrepreneurship. Is now developing entrepreneurial programs to help entrepreneurs from start to finish as well. But all these kind of things, it's great to see to be able to do something different and to do something to help other people.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah. Will you go through life or grow through life? This is great insight. I must say, as you just explained, that one thing that you do is that you don't want to look back and say, wish I could have done that. You just want to do everything that comes in up your mind. And as you said, that you want to grow through your life. Man, how did you get, I mean, your book is an excellent. The title itself is that you authored, it speaks volumes. I mean, it's so inspiring that and as you just mentioned, where did you get this energy from? What is your driving force?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great question, by the way. Where do I get my energy from? Everywhere, because I also study a lot of things about mind power and mindset and all those kind of things, personal development, and the energy is all around us. I mean, somebody the other day said that every body, all our bodies have an enormous amount of energy. We just need to tap into it. And the only way we're not going to tap into it, we're going to drain it if we think negatively all the time. But to be optimistic, it's not always possible to be positive, but to be optimistic is slightly different. And if you look at life the way it can be rather than the way it is, if you look at other people, not how they are, but how they can be, and help them to become that, then I don't even think about it. It's just something that, and as you can probably hear already, I'm very passionate about what I do. I was in a job for 30 years in the oil industry. I never hated my job, but I always knew I should have been doing something more. And I'm just thinking now of a quote by it's not originally from my friend and mentor Les Brown, but he said he always quotes another person. And he said, all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough as long as you do all you can do. Now, and then the question afterwards comes, are you doing all you can do? And I still feel there is so much more that I can do every day. And I need to be even more focused and even more guided. But the thing is, we can waste every day. And I don't think you can't sit down and watch Netflix or sit on Facebook for a little while. Everything. But you can't do this all day. So if you have purpose in your life, and you that energy just comes from the whole universe, because there is enough energy out there. We just need to tap into it. And how do you do that? Not by thinking about how can I tap into energy. No, get more excited about life. And for that to happen, you need to know where you are, where you're going, finding your why, finding how you are yourself. And when you put that all in a ball, and then when you have a purpose, as I said, it's easy.
So Jan, it's coming back to what is our topic today, is the personality profiling. So how the personality is matching with this, all the work which Jawad has mentioned and you have explained us a little bit earlier. So how this personality profiling is matching, and how we can we can know about ourselves more, what work we
Amir,
can do, what work we
Amir, I
cannot
have
do.
Amir, don't jump to this. I have another question. Let me ask. I need to.
He never tried to I cannot complete my question, I'm telling you. He's so excited about you.
Good.
Yeah,
About
please
life,
go
how?
on. I know, it's okay.
Okay. No, please Amir's question, and I'll ask it later on. Right?
Okay, okay. I'll answer that first. Now, one of the things, of course, is we always, if you're actually, and you are also, you're interviewing people, you want to learn more, you want to learn with
Yeah.
us, and we all learn from each other. But also, if you want to help other people, there is another saying: is you cannot give what you haven't got. So then does it
Mhm.
not make sense that we find out how we are ourselves? Because we always say to each other, "How are you?" And I say, "I'm fine." Now, if we
Mhm.
ask, "Who are you?" Now that's a different question, because
Mhm.
do we really know who we are? Do we really know, what we are capable of? Nobody knows what they're capable of, but at least if we know how, what is your communicating style? What is your leadership strengths? Do you know how to connect better with other people and how to build better relationships? Now, we can teach this and do this, and try our best to do things, but at a simple, for example, if you don't love yourself, how is it possible to love anybody else? And so
Mhm.
self-esteem and self-belief, and leadership also starts with self-leadership. You've talked about leadership before, so we always need to begin with the person looking in the mirror every morning. And if we can look at ourselves and discover how we are. Now, when we mention profiling, people also say, "Oh, I don't want to do an assessment because I don't want to put myself in a box." And I thought, don't worry about putting yourself in a box. Everybody else does that for you. So I said, if you finally realize how you communicate, what your strengths are, and even what some of your weaknesses are, what your behavior is, what your limitations are, your social and everyday interactions, how you can make them better, because when you know who you are, everything becomes better. Then you take yourself out of the box, because it's liberating to find out, oh, I thought I couldn't connect with him because he doesn't like me. Oh, no, no, it's not that he doesn't like me. He just communicates differently than me. Now, by knowing that, now you've got a choice. Do you want to do something about it? You don't have to always communicate the way you communicate, but if you find out how other people communicate, you can talk into that and build better connections. So it is very important to get to know more about yourself, and that's what personality profiling, behavior analysis, whatever they say, but it is
Correct.
basically finding out more about yourself.
Right. Ian, excellent. You knew about yourself when you were 17, because you came into the business directly when you were 17. Now my question is, did how did you got to know that you wanted to do this? And my question is, because when you are in a school, when somebody is in high school or something, he might have two or three options available for his career path. Or
Mm.
other, he would be advised by his parents or his uncles or his friends' parents. So he won't be thinking much about himself for his career. Rather, he would be advised.
Yeah.
How did you take your path?
Well, you wouldn't probably believe it, but at 17, a few things happened to me. First of all, I was bullied as a young kid, and at age 12, I grew this height. I went from being a short, fat kid to 6'4", that's 1 meter 90, at age 12, and I've never grown since. The Dutch people are a tall nation anyway, but for the next 4 or 5 years, the bullying stopped, but the bullying here carried on. So eventually I said, I can't do this anymore. And somebody at 17 handed me a personal development book. I also started a very powerful and positive martial arts called Aikido. And at the same time, I started reading more. So I started bit by bit, and it's a long journey. This doesn't happen overnight, but I started to decide kind of what came in here. And I never loved reading before, but when I started finding out about all the different things that human beings, including myself, are capable of, that we live with limitations in our mind, because when we don't know yet what's possible, yet we always tell ourselves that we cannot do things. It should be the other way around. If nobody knows yet what the human mind is possible, why are we living with our own limitations all the time and say we can't? There is another whole science behind that, and about mindset and all that kind of stuff. But at 17, I started reading, and then when I came into the job I spent a lot of time in. Again, it was not something I chose at the time, But I would say there is no such thing as coincidence. Again, Les Brown says coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And if you don't believe in God and a higher power or a spiritual world, something is helping you along. So all these things have happened in my life for a reason, I believe. But as I was going through this, I became more sure that at some time I know I need to do more. Even though I was in an industry, and I said already I didn't hate my job, but I knew I should be doing more. And this opportunity eventually arose. But all through this, I was studying personal development, because it's not a sometime thing; it's an everyday thing, and I love doing it. I started coaching training. I started joining the John Maxwell Leadership Team, and so I did a lot of things, and I invested in me. I have not bought a newspaper for more than 35 years. We have no television in the house, but that's by choice, because some people say garbage in, garbage out. I say quality in, quality out, which is a more positive connotation. So I think at some point we need to take a decision. Now, when we're talking about personality profiling now, and as you said, we as youngsters, the vast majority, I think it's more than 75% of adults do jobs they don't like, or they work for people they don't like. They work times they don't like. They take home money that they don't like. So, and it's all, and most people were hoping to do that for the rest of their life. As we know, there is no such thing anymore, especially right now, if it hasn't become apparent. But the great thing is, even in personality profiling, there is so many different options available. But one of them is a college and career option. And students, young people already can do the same assessments. It's a slightly different assessment, but very similar, 10 to 15 minutes online. And what they get is 40 pages of information about themselves that tells them how they communicate, that tells them their learning styles, that tells them their leadership strengths, that tells them how they communicate with others. But also, the last 2 pages are full of jobs and professions that are waiting for them because of their holistic approach. So, for example, if you are somebody says, oh, you should become an accountant because you're good with numbers. Now, you might hate the whole idea. Just that you're good with numbers doesn't mean that you need to become an accountant. So now you end up in an accountant's office, but you're an outgoing personality, and you love everything in life, and all of a sudden you've got, and there's nothing wrong with accountants. I don't get at them, but they're much more reserved, and they sit down and they work with numbers, and it's got to be quiet. Yet you want to talk, so you're in the wrong place. And if you spend all your life there, it's kind of really wasted, because it doesn't build on your strength. But if you are an outgoing person, then you already know, I should not become an accountant, because that is a job I will never like. So then then they give you a list of jobs that are suited to your behavioral, and it's not, again, it's not you, it's the way you behave. And if you don't like it, you're not a tree, you can always change. So it's just a wonderful development that even as youngsters now we have access to tools that we can find out exactly, and it's called College and Career Impact Report rather than just a personality profiling. But it's also for people who are in between careers, and what should I do now? What I've done so far, I hate it. I got paid off, or I got made redundant, or whatever, and I just want to do something else. They can do an assessment as well and find out, hey, these are my strengths. Now, people sometimes say in personalities as well, oh, does that mean that when I find out what my weaknesses are, I have to build them? That will be a choice. But I say, find out what your strengths are, and that's probably where you're in your comfort zone. So then you can actually decide to expand that comfort zone and get out of that comfort zone in your strength. Now, I've done this before for people, and they said, like a director of an organization, and he said, I am a very reserved kind of person, and I'm more guided towards facts and statistics than to people. But as I went up the ladder, it was not my strength to be with people, but I knew I needed to. So I said, well, in your case, you knew what your weakness was, and you knew you needed it to build better relationships. So once you know, you can make your own choices whether you want to build on those weaknesses because you might need them, or you delegate that and you do whatever you're strong with. So and already, if you can find it out as a teenager.
Jan, so what I understand, first you need to understand about yourself. What are the weaknesses and what are the strengths you have? But do you think, I have seen a lot, but you are the expert, so you can tell us a little bit more. So people are easy to understand their weaknesses. The strength is one thing, but it's very difficult to find out the weaknesses. And I want to say truth by myself. Is it difficult, or is very easy to understand and find out?
The weaknesses or the strength?
Yep, weaknesses.
Weaknesses. Yes. Well, I mean, usually if you're weak in something and you work for somebody else, they'll tell you what your weaknesses are, because very few people comment on your strengths. They will always tell you what's wrong rather than what's right. And that, again, that happens from a young age. We tell our children, no, 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 you can't do this. And then you go to school, and when you get reports back for tests you do, they tell you what was wrong rather than what's right. So that's how it builds. Now, to find out, to give you an example, there is in profiling, there is 4 main areas in the DISC profile. Anyway, there is 41 combinations of them all, but there is 4 simple main areas. That's why it's called DISC, DISC. Now, yeah, I mean, if you show that the first picture, the one before that, yeah, that one. See, that is basically where you style it, and what it means is, it is you see there in not only the 4 letters, but you also see outside that outgoing, reserved, task oriented, and people oriented. So it is actually to get your main quarter, and you're probably a bit of everything, but one of them usually stands out more than the others. So if you to find out your main quarter, say for example you stood in front of an elevator, and the door opens. Now, if you are a kind of person that hopes that the elevator is empty, so you can go in there and press your button and go to the next to the floor you need to, and if there's people in there, you actually go in there, you look at the button, you look down at your shoes, or you basically what happens is you're very reserved. So you already know that you're in that part of the half. If the elevator opens and you actually see people there, and you're actually glad to see them, you in the elevator, you talk with people, and sometimes you get people in the elevator. Now, I'm glad you could make this meeting, thank you for being on time, just being an outgoing kind of person. So that's already where the difference is, whether you're outgoing or reserved. Then if you take another example for a holiday, are you a kind of person that if you go on holiday, you make sure that the dog goes to the kennel, that your car has been serviced, you know exactly you've got a map with you, exactly where you're going if you go by car, what times you need to arrive at different places, what exactly you're going to do when you go on holiday. If you're one of these kind of persons, obviously you're very much task oriented. Now, if you go on holiday and you're just interested in where you're going, where is the pool, who can we meet, and where can we go, and forget about all the details, then obviously you are a people-oriented person. So if you combine those two, if you actually want to see an empty elevator, and you're actually more interested in all the tasks you got to do, you're in the bottom quarter, where you are more you are a C in the DISC profile. If you are by any other chance, if you are very outgoing, and you are interested in partying and where you're going to go, and is there any pubs, clubs, and nightlife out there, then you're obviously an outgoing, inspirational kind of person, and you're in the I. So it's fairly quickly you can see, are you outgoing or reserved, are you task or people oriented. That's the only 2 questions you need to know where the basics of your task are. But then when you start building a profile of people, and you find out what your weaknesses are. Now, it is always, as you already mentioned, it is wonderful to read about your strengths, but sometimes not so wonderful to read about your weaknesses. Of course, nobody likes to know what they're weak in, but it is better to know. So because it depends where you go in life as well. See, there is opportunities where you don't have to work in your weaknesses. So if you already know that, and maybe also understand, now I know why I just can't get on with this kind of person, because we think totally different, and I never understood this kind of person, because in the DISC profile, the direct opposites are exactly that. The outgoing person is the I person, the inspirational person, and then you've got the other one, which is a cautious person. They're the statisticians, the accountants, and those kind of people. Now, they're direct opposites from each other, and they say opposites attract sometimes, but it is much more difficult to communicate with these kind of people, because the outgoing one wants to talk, and the other one wants information and be specific and finish a job and be task oriented, and the outgoing one doesn't even care. So when you understand your weaknesses, then you might say, okay, I know I've got a task here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. but I know there are certain areas that I have got difficulties with because I don't know how to do it. But then, okay, I need somebody who's very task oriented, so I can go to him and work together with him, start collaborations with people who are dissimilar to you. And that doesn't mean that it's a weakness for you, but it's a smart thing to do. But once you find your weaknesses, it is at least up to you what you're going to do with them.
Yeah.
Do,
Yeah.
do you, it is always good if you have weaknesses that you start working a bit on, but you don't have to overly concentrate on if it doesn't serve you. See, if it's not the same. Well, I know I'm rude to people, so I don't care about that. I don't want to work with people, and then you're the boss of a company. There is some of those. There is some of those as well, of course, because the D's, the bosses, the driven people, they really want to get going. They're interested in bottom line and results, and they're task
Mm.
oriented as well. So it is important to know your weaknesses, and it is very difficult to find them out because who is going to be honest to you to tell you what's so bothering
Yeah.
you? Who actually knows? So by doing an honest assessment of yourself, it's easier to find out, and then it's up to you. This is and we do debriefs on these things as well to say, this is what it's like. This is how accurate is this, and most of them it's very accurate. There might have been some slight variations, but very accurate what the information they get.
Yeah, even
And
even
then-
even even Jen, you will see even in the interview when we are preparing for the interview in our early career, even our consultant or our mentor told them, okay, what are your weakness? Your weakness must be positive. Okay, and when you are going for the interview, for the interviewer, you need to tell them, okay, I have the weakness, but it's look like the positive. So no one want to listen the negative, even ourselves. If our in the performance management or our friends, even if they will tell us, oh, you have this is the weakness and you need to improve, nobody want to listen. So it is very difficult to take as a negative impression to improve ourselves. So my point of view is strength. Most of the people is a motivation. Most of the people are talking about the motivations and positive things, but I have not seen the many people are working and talking on the negative or
Hmm.
weaknesses. So how we improve? What do you think, Jawad?
There is another theory about the weakness. I said once you know that whatever someone's weaknesses are, why to put energy on in covering that? Why not to building on your strengths so that you can perform better in that area rather pulling up your weakness?
Yes, and of course both right. Because again, a CV, when you go for a job application, anybody can make up any CV they like. And it is one of the problems quite often with job interviews as well, and we've done these as well. We've done personality profiling for people for a hire. They're down to the last three and says, I don't know which one to take. So what kind of job is it for? And then we just do a personality profile with the last three. If they can do it with more, but say with the last three, and then we say, okay, by talking a little bit to them and having a debrief with them, and also by the job you need filling, this is the right person for the job. And if you think about people who do the interviews, they're more likely to hire somebody like themselves because they get on well. So if you have the same kind of communication style as the person you are interviewing, then of course you're going to connect better. And quite often people hire for skill but fire for character, and also the character, and the behavior style is also part of that. So if you there's one perfect example. There was a guy, he was a top salesman in a holiday. He was selling cruise holidays, and he was a top salesman for 3 years running. So a pharmaceutical industry poached him. They wanted him, and they gave him a better salary, and all of a sudden he started losing clients. He started losing all kinds of contracts, and his job wasn't doing well. I said, how come he was the top salesman? So then a personality profile was done, and they found out he was an outgoing person. So he never really cared much about finishing jobs. He loved connecting with everybody. So for the cruise sales, it's brilliant. But then with the pharmaceutical industry, they needed somebody who was more statistical, because you're talking about medicine, you're talking about information sheets and all those kind of things. So what was the conclusion? Well, in the end, the conclusion was not to fire him, but to give him an assistant who would be strong in that corner. So he would go to talk with the clients, and the assistant would follow up with the details and everything, and they would take care of the details. And soon he was a top salesman again. But they were about to fire him because they say this doesn't work. But all it wasn't the kind of job that really suited them. But by combining people, it actually all of a sudden made a lot of sense. So to talk about negative, you never go to a job interview and say, okay, by the way, if you're looking for this, I'm really bad at it. I can't do this. And you haven't had a job for 3 months and you're really desperate for the job, so you're never going to say what you're bad in. But I think it is easier that if you talk honestly about what you're good at, and if something comes up in your job and you say, can you do that? I say, well, I would love to do it, but then you need to show me, because I have no idea. This is not something I'm good at. I would love to try it for you, but don't say, oh yes, I'm going to do it, and then a week later they come back and say, where's the results? You haven't done what you said you would. So a little bit of just common sense and honesty to say, but again, once you know, and also the more you know about each other. See, if you can already go with a personality profile, even as a young person, but also as an adult, if you've done your personality profile, you can hand it over to the job interviewer. Says, this is what I know. This is the job required. I think I'm the ideal person because, and I said, I have done one of these, and here it shows I am an excellent communicator. You need somebody in public relations. Now, I'm an excellent communicator. I'm not so good at this and that, but they say you need me for that. So it has so many benefits. But really, in the end, when you get to know yourself, it is so important, because we can be so much more effective in our life, in our social engagements, in our business, in leadership styles, in communication. There is so many areas that bring out the best in you when you know what it is.
Ian, excellent. When someone goes through the personality profiling, what total parameters are covered in personality profiling? What dimensions are covered? Because as you mentioned earlier, that people might think that it is like putting someone's into a box. Yes, you had an answer that if you don't put yourself in a box, someone else would do. So it's a choice, I understand. But yet again, every individual has some unique individuality. So you cannot generalize it. But then again, it is not possible that one is unique in every way. He'll have a certain uniquenesses. I am just curious to know that what kind of a parameters you look after when you carry out this personality profiling, number one. And number two, how you ensure that you bring out that uniqueness in someone.
Yeah, well, to bring out the uniqueness. See, one thing, of course, that we always say before people go into the assessment, I'm going through some just now, and I said, be honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not fooling us. You're only fooling yourself. Yes, you won't get a real assessment of yourself, but to the best of your knowledge. Sit down. It's only 10 to 15 minutes, but what comes out is as I said, it reveals your strengths. It reveals your limitations. It reveals your behaviors in business, in social, and in family. It reveals you, because it's a combination in the Maxwell disc profile. So we're also getting leadership in there. So it gives you a whole power disc. There is 7 areas in leadership where you show your strengths because of who you are, as well as some of the ones where you're not so good at. And then it talks into you how you communicate, how you can communicate best with the styles that are not like you. So you get a 30-page overview of yourself, and as the students with the college and career, they actually get 40 pages, because they also include learning styles, which is connected to behavior styles, but it's not exactly similar. But there is so much information in there that you get about yourself. And I say, I've yet to find somebody I've certainly worked with who said, that was absolute rubbish. This was totally wrong. And it doesn't mean that in 3 years' time, if you do another personality profile, that it's going to be exactly the same, because you're growing in different directions all the time. But it won't be unless you actually actively start working on your weaknesses or something like that. I've known people who've changed, not dramatically, but they've changed, and that's because they decided they wanted to work not only on their strengths, which actually became stronger, but also on their weaknesses. Because sometimes, if you have strengths, when you go too far, it becomes overbearing. Like, for example, the leaders. There is actually in the 4 quarters, you've got the Ds, and these are the people who are direct, decisive, they're result oriented. Now, there's only 3% in the world like them. And that is because we can't really have many more of them because these are and if you look at the leadership styles, for example, without going into politics, Donald Trump is an out and out D. Hillary Clinton, if you remember Margaret Thatcher, then we look at people like Michael Jordan and Robert De Niro, and also Martin Luther King. He was also, but he was not. Martin Luther King had a combination style. His top one was D, and then the I and the C came out as well. So there is 41 possible combinations. It's not just a 4. The 4 is just to give you a basic idea. To really find out where it all lies, you need to actually do this assessment. But that is where the D is. And then when we go to and there you go, seeks control. Then you go to the I, where there's 11%. Now these people, they're as it says there anyway, they're persuasive, spontaneous, friendly, spotlight. They're also inspiring people, and these people, when they find out what they need to do. But also, if you look at the leadership examples in the persuasive, spontaneous ones, then you look at Bill Clinton, actually, Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams, but he was a funny guy and he's outgoing. Steve Martin, Liza Minnelli, and then Mandela. He had also a very main I style. And then, of course, the next one, you've got the S, and there's the biggest majority. I mean, these are the people who are very caring. They are team-oriented, follow-through, loyalty. They are very steady and serving. And now, if you look at the professions they have, these are the kind of people who have become nurses, teachers, counselors. Those kind of people in the service industry, especially. And as you say, the vast majority have at least a big foothold in this area. And if you look at the examples of leaders, well, Gandhi was a perfect one, and then you have Mother Teresa, another one, and as a film star, Halle Berry is also in the same area. But I mean, people always said, leaders need to be strong, driven, and all. No, there is leaders in every area. There is every kind of person in every area. It just, they come out with different strengths. Of course, you wouldn't get Gandhi shouting like somebody in the high D style. They work totally different, but nobody can argue with many of them that they're in whether it's a Mandela or a Gandhi or a Martin Luther King. They're all amazing leaders, but in very different strengths. And of course, then this last one, and when you talk to the 3% and then the 11 and the 69, these people would have already worked out before I put that slide up that there was 17% left because they are the statisticians. So they're compliant, analytical, planner, accurate, and these people. Their greatest fear actually is criticism, because they spend so much time doing everything right. Sometimes they go too far and overthink, but they go through the figures and the statistics and they make sure it's right, and they thrive on that side. And if you're looking at leaders there, and I wrote a few down, there was Nixon was one, Einstein, and if you look at film star, believe it or not, Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood were also very particular. Now, Clint Eastwood is also, of course, he was also a film producer and all that kind of stuff. So they have to have a few things in line, and there's not every film star could become a producer because they're all over the place. You have wonderful people on stages. Most of them are in the I zone. So there is strengths in everyone, and most of us have a combination. It's very rare to see one where it's out and out one, and that's why I mentioned a few.
So this is all. We have some set of questions. Do you have the set of questions which we need to go through one by one, and then we have the results? We are in D, I, S, R in C. Is it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. What happens is you get an assessment online, and there is a series of questions, and most of them it's very simple. You get 4 choices, so you range them from best to worst, and there is always going to be the odd one where you say, I could either I am none of them, or I could be in every one of them. So again, to the best of your knowledge, you need to take the best ones, and when you do these questions within 10 to 15 minutes, within a few minutes after that, you have the 30-page report in your inbox. and you can start reading it. And then the question after that is, some people just want to do the assessment, other people want to do a debrief session as well, and I normally do anything from 45 minutes to an hour, go through their report with them and discuss the whole thing. But yeah, it's very simple. And I had somebody saying to me, I really had to think about some of these questions, and I was kind of calculating which ones were for me, and I wasn't really sure whether some of them for me. Now, the way they asked me, the guy who really calculated all the questions out, he was a C. He was an analytical kind of person, and the one who wasn't really sure, he was kind of steady, but they all of a sudden came out. Oh, they were S's. They were steady. Now, what happens as well is to understand this, because if you look at the D's and I's, the driven ones and the inspirational ones, they're very outgoing, very fast-paced, and the C's and the S's, they're very, very steady. So they're much slower paced. Now, that's quite often misunderstood, because if you're a fast-paced person, you look at these steady kind of people and you think they're lazy. No, they're not lazy. They're slower paced. So that means if you talk to a slower paced person, don't fire on all cylinders, because some of these people go, whoa, what's happening here? And they get overwhelmed. So it's not only knowing your style, it's actually when you get to know your style, there is so much information in there that you can get to know everybody else's main styles. And then you can communicate with people better. Because if you are, for example, a very cautious kind of person and very analytical, and I come to you with some information, I need to give you more than a yes and a no answer. I need to give you some information that you can do something with, because otherwise you get frustrated with me. And if you come to me and you're just the analytical kind of person, and I'm an outgoing person, if you come with 3 pages of information and statistics, I won't read most of it, and I don't care about it anyway. I mean, okay, you've done your work, good for you. But I mean, we need each other. We can all live together much happier, much better if we start to understand ourselves and therefore start to understand others. Because so much world wars were created because we misunderstood each other. We were not communicating properly, or not at all, and we certainly weren't listening to each other.
So yeah, I know Jawad have some questions, but let me ask one question because it's stuck in my mind. I'm just thinking about that because we have some program on the passion, our passion. We must do what we like it, what we have the passion. Or maybe what is my passion, it's not matching with my personal profiling. For example, Jawad want to be an actor, but his passion was acting. But his acting skill is nothing else. Okay, he can't do the acting. Okay, so we end up with the podcasting. So the passion and this profiling, how you will match it?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I doubt that Jawad can't do anything with it. I'm pretty sure he could act very well if he tried his best. But yeah, but I mean, a good question, because sometimes we think we want to do something, and there is a whole other program, because I think it's also very important not only to find out our profile, and sometimes people say profiling, and they say, okay, whatever they think it is, but it is just finding out who you are, really. But now you also need to find out why. Find your why. Simon Sinek has a great YouTube video and a great book about it. And I've also just finishing a course on to deliver as a find your why, because you might think, because you get mesmerized by maybe some actor or some beautiful singer, or maybe he can sing beautifully rather than a beautiful singer, whatever. But I mean, you really say, I wish I could do that. And is it really your passion? What have you found out? What is your passion really? You might have been as a young kid. If you ask young kids what they wanted to do, not maybe so now, because now they want to be coders and play Xbox and be good at it and create programs. But astronauts, firemen, nurses, and all those kind of things when we were younger. But did we really want to become an astronaut, or were we just mesmerized by the fact that, oh, look at what they do? But when we get to know ourselves, then you say, I always thought I wanted to be one of them, but it's not really me. And that's also a big mistake, because a lot of young people, with all you said already, through family and through guidance from parents, and they tell you in school what you should do. The guidance counselor, he doesn't even know you, but he looks at your set of figures and say, okay, you're good at this, so go and do this. The only reason you're good at this because your parents told you, do your best in school because you need that for the rest of your life. So even if you hated maths, you spend extra hours on it, you became good at it, and all they see is your results.
Yeah.
So to to it can't happen. If once you get to find yourself, not only just your profile, but I would say go even further. When you're looking at developing yourself, and as I said earlier on, if you want to grow through life, you better start finding out who you are, what you want in life, and why you want it. And the what and what is not as important as why, because once you find your why, the what and the how will come. But if you already they're all connected, of course, somewhere along the line, because it's our life. So if you say, okay, I always wanted to become an actor. Let's take that example. But
Yeah.
I'm really shy. I mean, if I stood on stage, I'd probably shake so hard that my knees would break on each other. They just sound, and I wouldn't know what to say. Now, then you've
Yeah.
got two options. Do I really want to become an actor? Because sometimes in life we have to do things that are not comfortable, and that's why they say, it's not in our comfort zone anymore, but it stretches us. So we need to ask that question. So I am a good communicator. It says I'm a good communicator, but I'm also fairly reserved, and I don't know if I can do that, because my passion is I want to become an actor, and I don't want to do just podcast. but you know but then you have the choice is how badly do you want it, because we can do anything we want. I did a little Facebook live a couple of days ago where I said you are enough. Everyone is enough, but sometimes we need some more encouragement from other people. But if we already know that we have what it takes, so if we know that we can't communicate, but we're for see, some things might have happened in life that actually dampened our enthusiasm for something. So if you find out who you are, and then also find out your passion, what you really want to do, then you can look at your profile, and it says, that fits in very well with each other. And quite often,
Hmm.
if it's only a wish and only a dream because of you've seen a movie, and like young boys, they see an action movie and they all want to be like Bruce Willis or one of these kind of people, to shoot to blow the world up, because it looks very fancy and all that kind of stuff. And at the end they find out, what they really want to do is they want to inspire other people because they were inspired by somebody on the television. Now that's totally different. That doesn't mean that you need to go become a film star. That might be, you might inspire people in your community. You might inspire people in your city or in your organization, and indeed your country. But it is all kind of things that we need to start finding out, and we need to start with ourselves, because how do we really know what we want if we don't even know ourselves? It is so often, in DISC they've got a saying as well. We're all different, but we are predictably different. So that if
Hmm.
that then happens to be the truth, which I believe it is in many ways, um, then can't we not find out exactly how we are and how we can predict how we can work better with other people? And if we want to become actors, what do we need to do? If we want to become something else and we want to inspire people by going out like a Mother Teresa type of style thing, where she wanted to help one person, and look what she did. So it doesn't always start with that, but you need to start somewhere. And I think it's like anything, like leadership, like sales, like coaching, like all these kind of things, it starts from within. And if you can do it from within, and if you can do something that doesn't only come from here, but it comes from here, some
Hmm.
jobs need a lot more of this. But if you can start filling your passion from here, the rest is a lot easier.
Hmm.
By the way, I have this in broadcasting.
Mm. Yes, good. See, then you're in the right place.
Yes, I am at the right place. Amir was wrong. I didn't want to do acting. Uh, that's not my part of thing. No, no, no. This was Amir's story. Ian, uh, when you make when you do profiling for somebody, you give him an insight about himself. There is possibility that some of the answers might challenge his point of view or his opinion about himself, or one's opinion about oneself. My They would come back to you and tell you, look, I think about this and you have this, and then, so if it is online, would you do you give a rationale behind the solutions, or is is that that you just tell them that this is what it is?
Oh, well, that's again a great question. And first of all, is if people want to do a profile assessment, and I say, Arthur, you'll probably put a link in there if they want to fill in a form that they want to find out more about how to do a profile assessment and how to take it further. We can certainly help them out. So Arthur, you'll put a link in there, and then people can fill in the Google form. Just to not necessarily once you fill in the Google form, you need to do an assessment. No, if you want to find out more on how to go about it and what it can mean for you or even your children, we do all kinds of different assessments for all kinds of different areas. But then, of course, you've done the assessment, and then what? Now, the assessment is fairly self-explanatory. There is actually 3 graphs in there as well, and to develop our skills further, we actually just looked at the 3 graphs. And what it is, one of the graphs is actually how you see yourself, and it gives you the 4 disc points on the graph, and that's where the most of the information comes from. Then you have another graph. It shows you the different points of the DISC, how you are under pressure. Now that is not necessarily the same, because under pressure that actually comes from memory, that from everything that you've built in. So that's not necessarily how you see yourself. And sometimes, for example, at work, when you all of a sudden you're under pressure, other skills come out, other behavioral traits come out that you don't usually maybe don't usually show. And then there is another graph. The one graph is how you think others see you, how you believe other people see you. So, for example, at work, sometimes at work you are totally different than how you are at work. And there is so much that you can tell about the graphs, because sometimes the graphs are nearly flatlining, and that can mean that you have bigger challenges than just knowing who you are. You might have career changes, you might have major challenges that actually show up in these graphs. Now, if then we say, we give the opportunity. If you want, say, a 45-minute debrief with me as well, I offer the package as a not just the assessment, but also a debrief. And then I go through the whole thing with you. But I ask you as well. First of all, my first question is, how do you feel about your assessment? Because I want to know how you feel. What I see is irrelevant at the moment. How do you feel about it? And then we go through some of the basics, and we pick out some of the strengths and some of the stuff in leadership. And this one shows a weakness, and you're not so good at this. How do you feel about it? Do you having talked with you for the last 35, 40 minutes, I think you're stronger in this. How do you feel about it? Because it is an amazing guide and very accurate, but not everything needs to be completely. But I mean, I at least I can help you explain what it all means to you. It's not what it means to me. I'm just through experience, I get to understand a lot of these kind of things. But I want from you to know what it means to you. How do you feel about it? How can I help you? And also, once we've gone through the whole thing, my next question is, can I help you in another way? Maybe you need coaching. Maybe you need mentorship. Maybe you need a program, because we do these things for entire organizations as well. And then when they all have gone through it, we also give them another assessment. We don't give them the assessment. We have an assessment where we put all the graphs of, say, 50, 60 different people. We combine them all, so you get the leader gets an overview of the entire organization, where all the strengths in total of the organization. So if you think as an organization, we have we have a challenge in an area. For example, our sales. We haven't got enough people in sales, and we're not working well. I said, well, what the graphs show, you have a lot of people who are in the product development, and we've got a lot of people who work on the background, and a few amazing leaders. But in that I area, and sometimes that I is combined with an S, or the I is combined with a D, where the sales people are. It says you haven't got enough of them. So what you really need to look for, and then we can help you in finding these people, because we'll do a profile for the new hires, and I say, this is the kind of person you're looking for, and we'll do the profile as assessment for you, and then we'll help you get matched with the kind of people you need. But it is very important that the people get. They can go through it themselves. That's entirely up to themselves. But we really offer in at least the 45-minute debrief with them, to go through the whole program, to make them understand more about themselves. But you get a good idea, when it talks into your strengths, as you say, you love reading about that, and say, I'm really thinking about that. And sometimes I think, I say to them, go to somebody who knows you well and ask them those questions that you just asked me and see what you
Mm.
get. And those people, like your wife or your spouse or your children or your parents or your close friends, they will tell you. I mean, when they get it,
They will tell you the right who are you.
yeah, but I mean, that's you. You're kidding yourself. I mean, I've never wanted to tell you, but yes, that's exactly you. And we do it even within families. We do profile assessment for the entire family, and it's amazing what happens. Because we did a program as well, and I put a 22-minute video on there as well. It's from family stress to family best, and it's for
Hmm.
parents to better understand. And they didn't even have to go through it. It was just 22 minutes, and it showed all the four main areas for the children, how they are, and what happens when they get stressed, and how you can talk into them to connect better with them, not only during stressful times but others as well. So it can build the relationships with your family, because you might have three children, but you can connect with one much better than the other two. You love them all, of course, but you can. And the reason is not only because your learning style is similar, but also because your behavior style is similar. So if you
Hmm.
are a high I, you connect with a high I in your children better, and you sometimes don't understand the others. But now you've just done the assessment and say, hey, you don't necessarily have to do it for your children, which is an advantage, of course, but you can at least recognize your children. It says, now I know why he doesn't. When I tell him to clean up his room, and he goes into his room and he puts two things away and he thinks he's cleaned it, and he walks out and it still looks like a bombshell, because you are very particular, and to him cleaning up the room just means shoving two pairs of underpants in a drawer and a pair of shoes into the bed. I'm done, and it still looks. But I mean, to him, he's done his bit. So
Hmm.
it's the simple little things where we start connecting so much better with other people, and sometimes it brings a total transformation, but it sometimes needs an explanation as well. But it is amazing what does happen when people finally find out, not only for themselves but in their environment, because we've all heard the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, when you are that change, because you realize all of a sudden how you are and how you are not, you start changing, because when you become aware of it, we don't know what we don't know. But when we do know, now we've got choices to make. Are we
Yeah.
happy with it? Can we develop this further? And I recommend, now don't only keep it to yourself, but share that with your family, and take your report out and say, hey, you can already see that, hey, you're one of these, this suits you. So you can use that much more than just for yourself, and I would recommend it. And then when you bring that change into your own life, everything around you will change.
Yeah. So this is also very important in the career planning, for example, which you talk about the individual, how we need to do the personality profiling, what are the weakness, what are the strength, and we need to improve, of course. So what do you think in the company wise, in the small organization, how this is important in career planning? For example, for this position, I need this set of skills. So that
Hmm.
the person who is coming from the, for example, junior to medium and then senior manager, so how he can improve that skill to reach over there. So is there anything is related to career planning in this profiling?
Oh yes. I mean, already I said earlier on, this is quite often the vast majority of people, especially the older generations, because we were told do well, and the whole story, they are in the wrong job. There is a main reason why. I mean, I say 75, but some people have said 83. But it is 75% of people don't do what they like to do. I'll tell you something further. Les Brown told me that. He says, you know that the human species is the only species in the world that have got a specific disease on a specific time of the week, and that is between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning. There is 38% more heart attacks, strokes, and deaths than at any other time of the week. So he says
Oh.
some people are actually dying to go to work, and some of you definitely shouldn't go to work on a Monday morning. But do you combine that with the stresses? I mean, some people think on Sunday afternoon the weekend's already over. No, the weekend's over on Monday morning, but they already start thinking, oh, my job. They take the
Mm,
troubles home. They take the troubles home at night. They can't sleep. So
yeah.
it is no wonder that these kind of things happen, but it is happening in human beings, which is absolutely crazy, and we keep living with it. So now you go a step further in your career advancement. So see, there's a few things that the profile makes you aware of. It increases your self knowledge. It improves your working relationships. You facilitate better teamwork. You develop stronger sales skills. You manage and lead more effectively. These are some of the points that happen because of you getting to know yourself. And if it makes all sense, because even in sales skills, for example,
Yeah.
just one area, if you always talked the way you talk to everybody, not thinking about, oh, you might be a D and you might be an S. So if you are a C, I need to give you more facts. So, like, if I was a car salesman, of course, and you come in and you are a C, very analytical. I can't just tell you about how fast that car goes and the amazing noise it makes out of the back and the brilliant colors you've got, because that appeals to the eyes. But the C's need to know, hey, how efficient is this car? How many miles kilometers per liter does this do? And all these other, and what is the insurance cost on this? So they need more information. It's just one simple example. And to a
Yeah.
D, you just tell the high driver, the high driver, the car, but if the driven one, you just tell them, hey, this is something that gives you status. This is a kind of car that a CEO would drive, and it says, man, this gives you power behind the wheel. You use this kind of the power and all these kind of words. So if you know the kind of words to you, the way to speak to them, and if you're a little bit slower in speaking, you speed up a bit, because the driver wants that, and he wants results. Says, this car will give you exactly what you want. It'll do so much. You can give them a few statistics, not too many, although they're fact oriented. But you just tell them exactly what they need to hear. It's not trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. It's giving them what the car will do in their language. Now that is a fair advantage, because anybody can learn this. So if you then go into job advancement, then they've now done the profile analysis, and they say, okay, you need to go from a supervisor to a manager. Now, in your management position, you need this. Now, I'm looking at your profile. I see you've got these three areas. You're a good communicator. You can actually are fairly good with statistics as well. But now, because you're going to manage a bigger group of people, you need your teamwork and your relationship building needs to improve, because I see that's a little bit weak. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it'll really help, because if you never knew that, they go into this management position and they do nothing. They are totally out of sorts. In fact, just before the lockdown, I was supposed to work with a guy who had exactly that. He ended up in a senior management position, but his senior manager above him felt he couldn't delegate, for starters. He was still sometimes sweeping the floor, because he felt he needed to be part of that, because he was a team player. But it was a different kind of team player he needed to become over the team. So he needed to delegate some of this kind of stuff. And so he says, okay, what we'll do is he needs a profile first. We'll talk through his profile, and probably he'll need some coaching, to bring him up to speed with what it happens. But had they seen beforehand what kind of style he had, they would have already known. I said, okay, we want him there because he's amazing with people. And sometimes I've seen it before as well. We've promoted people out of the way. So they were here, and we get them a bit higher, so they're out of the way now because they're no good with dealing with people. So we'll give them another position where they sit in an office higher up. But that's not always good. But if you then find out, hey, this guy has got huge potential, and that's what the word I think is, that they've got huge potential, and they've done a profile with him now. They have a good idea what they like. So let's do a profile, and they look at his profile with him, and I can get called in to sit in there with them as well, to explain this, and it says, well, this is in the next position. We need a lot of this. But we also need. And then you say, okay, how do you feel about that? Now, okay, what kind of program can we help you with to make sure that you become a better delegator, that you can become an even better communicator? Maybe coaching training, so he can start asking better questions, because coaching is all about better questions and listening. So I say, okay, I'll take him through some coaching training. We do half-day workshops with entire teams. And it's not to make them coaches, but
I think this is very good for the organization as well, which you have already explained. It's very good for the organization and also the employee. because most of the time we have complained from the company, or I'm not getting promoted, but I don't know what skills required, or maybe our managers don't know what skills he need to be improved for that
Indeed.
position. So this one is very good profiling, and people understand. It's very clear approach how we need to be improved and go promotions. I think Jawad has already done the profiling.
No, I did not. Actually, I has been speaking so much about you, about myself. He has been saying this guy has an extraordinary skill set. He has been saying he's just excellent guy, a marvelous guy, top of his game. He just mentioned so much that I thought Ian would do me a profiling for free. I won't mind.
See?
I will give you a thumbs up. Do it. I'll give you time. You know, I'm busy. I'm busy in broadcasting. But yet, if you want to do profiling for free, I would give you a time.
See? Yes, of course.
So-
Which country are you from again?
Okay, so Yen, is there any age restriction to start this profiling? For example, on what age you recommend we need to start the profiling? I have the two questions. One is age restrictions. Restriction
Yeah.
mean when we need to start. Okay, for
Yeah.
example, the children are going for O level, A levels, or college, university, or what level, so they understand the questions and they can fill it. And number two questions is, okay, let's answer this question, and quickly
Yeah.
I will ask the second.
Yeah. Okay. The simple answer is there is the lower age limit is around about 7-8 years old. There is a student impact report as well, where basically the parents will help them with this profile for the around about 8 till 11, 12 year old, and they get help. And what also happens is it tells them the parents how they can better connect with the children, a few pages for the children, and also a page for the teachers. So the teachers can,
Okay.
because teachers, then and it's not their fault, but they have so many children in the room, they treat everybody the same. But if they now know how you, even in your learning styles are in there as well. So how you learn is also very important. It's called VAK, visual audio kinesthetic. So if they find out how you learn, how they can connect better with you, there is a bit much better chance that you will become a much better student because the teacher connects with you. And it doesn't take a lot. Then you go up to the college and career guidance, which is 13, 14 to 18 and university students, but also adults who are in who want to change careers and they don't know what to do. So it's not only college, but college and career. Then we've got impact reports for sales. We've got impact reports for communication. We've got the DISC report. There are so many different ones, but I mean the main DISC report already gives you a lot of that. And if you want a more specific one, then there is a 14-page, for example, sales report where you can get guided on the sales of itself. So it's a wonderful way and a very simple way for people to get to know about each other. And I think, and it's not because I do this kind of stuff, but I send the college and career, the 41 pages, I send it to an ex principal who now is a governor over a whole area. And on our website, there is a whole page about this information as well. And I put his quote on there. He says, I would like to say this is brilliant, but this is so much better than that. And he says every student at least should get this in their hand, that the parents should invest, because and the parents should invest in that before they go to university, because so many parents invest a lot of money in sending their kids to university on the guidance of guidance counseling and their results. And then after 1 or 2 years, they drop out because they just don't. Some of them just have a party, but some of them just don't care for what the area they're in, and that's a lot of that's thousands of pounds of dollars a year is wasted.
So you have also mentioned this personality profiling is good for the relationship management. So you are recommend for the before choosing the partner or before the marriage, or how's it?
Well, I mean, at any time it's good, of course. Sometimes it's needed more than others.
Have you done before choosing your partner?
No. But I mean, I've done. I mean, I
would have done this.
Yeah, but Athi and I have done this. Yes, we've done this. And there's no surprises, because we've already in the 90s there was a book called Personality Plus by Florence Littauer, and I became very involved and very interested in that in the 90s, because personal development was also something. So but, and that way you actually learn a bit about it. But you're not always right, of course. But there is no reason. It's is it a tool to pick a partner? No. I mean, there is such a thing called romance, and actually, yeah. But you see, I feel that this
So
is
he cannot answer. Okay, I'm
no,
I'm taking back my
no,
question. No
no, no,
problem on
no,
that. So I
no,
don't
no,
want to create any problem.
no. But I mean, it in relationships,
Yeah,
to take
yeah,
it a
it's
bit
very
further.
important. It was very important. Please keep continue. Yeah,
I think it is most important because so many
yeah,
relationships actually break down. See,
yeah,
we get together because we like the way we look or the way we connect with each other.
yeah.
So, whether it's
Mm,
intellectually or whatever, well, for whatever reason, but we get to like each other. Now,
mm,
and they also say opposites attract. And that, I mean, I see relationships where they're the total opposite, but they work really well together because they complement each other. But
mm,
life will be so much easier when we understand that's exactly where we're at. So then we can work with
mm,
each other, and it's all about compromise.
mm.
In business, in life, and in relationships, we can't always say, oh, but I'm one of them, so you need to connect with me the way. No, we need to come together. And sometimes it doesn't work if we're completely identical either, because we drive each other crazy. But when you do a profile, when you're in a relationship, whether it's I mean, even a business relationship, when you've got partners in business, but especially at home. And I say, get the family involved, because when you start to understand yourself, when you really get to understand your children, you can do wonders for your
Yeah.
children, with your children, purely because you now understand, and you don't get so frustrated with them either. And that works both ways as well, of course, because children also get frustrated with their parents.
Okay, they're perfect. Perfect. Jawad, you have any question? Because I have one last question from my side, because now I am convinced after this 1 hour how this personality profiling is important in our career, even with the children, in the relationship management, in our job career, and if we want to change the career. But of course, maybe we can discuss offline, or maybe if you are okay to be discussed, it's online. Is this very expensive thing, or it would be you can say bearable cost? How much the cost, or the person can reach to you and you can have the different conversation with them, or is there any package you want to share?
Yes, I mean, like, expensive is always something that's relevant to what you're going to do with it.
Okay.
Because I mean, you can buy a course for $10, which is very cheap, and then you do
Mm,
nothing with it. Then that $10
mm,
is expensive. And I think,
mm,
I mean, it should be a lot more, but we do personality profiling, and it's $79.95. So to get that, if you also if you also want a 45-minute, if you do the combination with a personality profile and the 45-minute debrief, it's 139.95. And for
mm.
that, and if it's
Okay.
it's so that, to me, it's no cost as well, because if we've all been on courses, and I can, if I tell you, in some of the courses that I've taken part in, and if we, and again, if we do it for a whole organization and for families, we can certainly give them a discount on that. We are quite willing to do that. But I mean, that is the basic pricing, and for less than $100 to find out how you are,
Yeah.
to improve your life dramatically, and it will do it, to improve your life dramatically. I don't think there is any cost. I mean, I've seen all kinds of ideas to help you that cost an awful lot more. Um, Coaching, for example, sometimes you can get anything from $50 an hour to $500 an hour. And you have to do it again. So I mean, even if it's $100 an hour, you don't even get more than an hour of coaching for you. When we do coaching as well, I charge more for coaching than I charge for this. But I think this is such an important and great service to, I would say, to
Yeah.
humanity, to any person, and for youngsters to find out what they like, for adults to finally find out why and how, and then to help them guide us. As it doesn't just stop there. If people then say, okay, from what we've seen now and what I've heard from you, this is something that you should be concentrating on. You don't necessarily need further coaching or further um, material from us. In an organization, of course, that could be that they need a mastermind for their top people, or they need like a communication training for the organization. That can come out organization wise. But for individuals, you can say, okay, you've got so much strength there, and how do you feel that connects with your job? What is your thoughts on yourself? Well, I don't really where I am in my job. I say, well, then I would advise you to take this and go to your HR director or somebody in charge, and see how you can. If you love the environment and you love the organization, maybe you can fit in somewhere else in the organization that makes you happier, it makes the bosses happier, and it makes you much more productive at the same time. So there is a lot to it.
Indeed.
And that's why I think
Indeed.
it's I would never say it's a cost. I would say it's an investment.
Yeah. Yes, Jawad.
And it was excellent talking to you. It was deep insight.
Very.
Idea, concept of knowing oneself is an interesting and intriguing one. I must appreciate you, and I am still in the influence of Sarthi More that led us to today's topic. Thank you very much, Arthi. She has been a wonderful contributor today. Arthi, thank you very much. Along with you, we had a few other contributors. There was author Lawati and Saeed Abbasi. Saeed Abbasi came after a long today.
Yeah,
Welcome.
he was busy. He is actually busy in to find out the vaccine and also the injections and some medicine for the coronavirus, because he is working in pharmaceutical company as he's a quality manager. I think he's a head of department for this type of work. So he's quite busy nowadays.
I would imagine so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talk to you again soon. Our guest and audience, if they have questions, they'll shoot it to you. I'll appreciate if you can just put your email address in the comment box, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. People, if you have some inquiry, or anything about it, Ian is there to sort it out. Personality profiling is one important thing in one's professional and personal life. Ian has convinced us in that. Amir and me, we are gonna go it soon with Ian's discount. I hope.
Perfect. Perfect.
Sure. Thank you very much. I hope you will keep following SOPs and hope to see you soon. Ian, thank you very much.
Yeah, for me, it's just been an absolute pleasure and privilege to connect with you and discuss these things with you. And I love the questions you gave me. And as I said, Arthi will put in the comments box also. She always contributes. She's an amazing supporter, as well as she always keeps pushing me too. But she'll put in the comments box also our email address and also the form. So you can go to the form and fill in the details, and we can always get back to you. But it was an absolute pleasure and privilege, and I hope you both stay safe and healthy. And I look forward to meeting you again and engage further. Thank you very much.
Sure. I have already seen your profiling. What type of good topics you can talk, and you are already delivering a lot of speech. So we will come back with you in the new topic from your profile. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.